This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Head over to our contest page and enter for your shot at a pair of early screening passes for the new DC Studios film Superman. In theaters July 11th. Enter today at KFAN.com. Keyword contest. That's KFAN.com. Keyword contest to enter now.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive. Can leap over tall buildings in a single bound. He's 10 and B. A couple 13, 14 passed. Let's do 5, 3, 4, shall we?
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1.
Time now for an in-depth look at the state of hockey.
NHL free agency officially began 2 hours ago, and Michael Russo, beat writer for The Athletic, an hour ago tweeted, hearing the Minnesota Wild are closing in on bringing back free agent center Nico Sturm. 5th best faceoff guy in the NHL last season, 2-time Cup champ, fills PK size forechecking role. Common, would you like to see the Wild sign Nico Sturm?
Is he currently with the team, or did he leave and we want him back?
We traded him to the Colorado Avalanche a couple years, where he then won a cup that year with Colorado.
Because it's the cup.
And then he's been to San Jose.
Does he know the way to San Jose?
He knew the way. He did pretty well in San Jose, was traded to Florida last year, and then won a cup with the Florida Panthers.
Wow.
2-time Cup champ.
It's all gravy for him now, right? It's just playing out the string. You know, I mean, I'm sure he'd like to win a 3rd, but if he doesn't, no big deal. He's got 2. I don't know. This is a perfect question for me to eat my lunch, because you're paying closer attention to the NHL than I did. Do you like the idea of Nico Sturm? Is it Sturm?
Sturm, S-T-U-R-M. The Sturm Storm.
The Sturm Storm.
A storm's coming to Minnesota.
What do you think?
As a 4th-line center, I'd be very happy with him. Now, this is not knowing what we're paying him. That's an important detail in what we're paying a 4th-line center. But, Russo wrote it in that tweet. He's a darn good faceoff guy, which the Wild have desperately needed in a center. I think with Nico, because he's been here before. The Wild got him as an undrafted free agent out of college. And the thought with him, and I think even some of the fans, was, he's a good-sized player. He skates pretty well for his size. Can he be just more than a bottom 6 guy? And I think he ended up going elsewhere to find out if he could be more than a bottom 6 guy. And I think now he's finally come to the realization, hey, I'm a 4th-line center. I'm going to do my best to perfect that role. And so I think he's gotten better at certain things like face-offs and penalty kill, and just realize, hey, that's what I got to be, as opposed to trying to be a highly skilled guy. So, right now at the center position, you got Eric Sinek, you've got Marco Rossi for now. Ryan Hartman can play center for you. You got Yurov coming in from Russia. You have no idea what you're going to get out of him in year 1 and whether he can play center or not. I think they're going to start him there. But you need a dependable faceoff guy. You need a dependable PK guy. And he fills both. And he's got size, which the Wild could use in their bottom 6, given they have some smallish forwards up front. Until I see the price, yes, I would be fine with him as our 4th-line center.
It seems like Sturm came to the same conclusion as Meat Sauce did. Instead of being the front-line guy, the lead guy, just decided to be dopey guy, just, play to your strength, be that 3rd wheel, just stare at your phone all the time, don't offer up a lot, and just kind of ride the wave.
I always love that one.
Well, I think Sturm offered a little more than that, but you get my point.
And his... I don't know if it's a fiance or wife. I think it's his fiance is from here. Because obviously this is his second. Well, he's not here yet. This is not confirmed.
We're right. Well, you know what I think the holdup might be? I mean, can she find work here?
Depends on what she wants to do for a living.
That's it. And just because she's from here, if she can't find work, he might have to take his skills.
Well, at least in Sturm's case, he ain't making the $98 million that Zach Parisi is making.
Well, that's true, too. Yeah, there you go.
Question number 2.
It's now time to take an in-depth look at the welfare of the Wolves.
Nikhil Alexander-Walker has agreed to a 4-year, $62 million deal with the Atlanta Hawks. It is a sign and trade, so the Wolves received a 2027 second-round pick in cash in return. During his 2+ seasons with the Wolves, Alexander-Walker averaged 8.4 points per game and shot 38% from three-point range. Common, how much will the Wolves miss NAW, and who will fill that void?
Well, I don't know. They got guys on the roster. I don't think they're going to go out and get anybody to fill that role. I thought it was interesting. I briefly read, and I should admit this working at the All Sports station, but in reading the story about the sign and trade for NAW, it was either the Associated Press's story or it could have been the Fish Wrap Factory West Side. Because I don't pay as close attention to the NBA as I once did, I didn't realize, like, when he came here, he was sort of like, I'm not ready to say he was on his last leg, but he was kind of on a prove-it kind of a deal because, he hadn't really established himself as a, hey, this guy does this, he's really good at it, we need to pay him a lot of money. And with the Wolves, he was able to do that. He established himself. He was able to carve out a nice niche for himself, and it's paid off now with a fairly big contract. And so, he's a good player. And but like we talked about earlier, it's when you have only so much money to work with, and you've got other players that are expecting big money. Julius Randle, is he $30 million a year? How much does he make?
It's going to be like 33.3. Yeah, it's 3 years, $100 million.
So, and then Nas is at $25 million. Starts to add up awful quick, and so you can't keep everybody. So I think they will miss him. I don't think there's any question about that. And I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. What they do to who fills that?
The young guys.
I guess the young guys.
Right. I mean, Dillingham is more of a point guard, but He'll handle the ball a lot, and he's got to be dependent to score a little bit more. I think Terrence Shannon Jr., while being bigger than NAW, has to pick up kind of the defensive slack that NAW could help out with at times. And then what's Rosen's guy's name? Is it Jalen?
Oh, Jalen Clark.
Jalen Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably going to have to get a little bit more out of him.
Yeah, I would concur.
Question number 3. It's time now for a look at the Lynx.
Yeah, the Lynx will take on the Indiana Fever tonight in the Commissioner's Cup final. The winning team will split a pool of $500,000. The Fever just 8-8 this season, yet they did qualify to represent the East in the Commissioner's Cup. The Lynx are 14-2. Caitlin Clark, questionable for the game tonight at Target Center. Common, will you be watching tonight's game?
I know. I'm sorry. Is that wrong? If it was do we have a name for the WN? Does the real championship for the league have a name for the cup? We got Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We got the Lombardo Trophy. I don't know if they have one for the WNBA. If it was WNBA, I'd probably watch it. I don't think No, matter of fact, I won't. Sorry, I was going to say I was, but I'm not going to. No. Are you?
Well, the main reason you might not watch it, you have to watch it streaming. Amazon Prime.
I've got that, but why isn't...
I've got it too, but it's still... like Caitlin, I get that
Are they
Amazon paid for this, and that's why they're able to give $500,000 to the winning team. But like, if you're going to try to showcase, especially a league that's, while it's growing, still relatively early on in terms of stages of where they want to get to. You got to put that on national television.
You're telling me that they think this is so special that it's not like just on regular cable?
No, it's only on Amazon Prime.
That's preposterous. Do they think? No, they can't honestly believe she's not that big of a draw, is she?
Well, she is a big draw.
I don't think she's that big of a draw. That you.
She's filling out stadiums in the arenas, which did not happen in the WNBA.
People are not going to sign up for Amazon Prime just to watch.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's my point.
That's why I think it's a mistake that the league should be showcasing this game.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. Here's what it said about NAW. It said NAW came to the Timberwolves March 2023 as a throw-in to help complete the trade that brought Conley to Minnesota for D'Angelo. Alexander Walker's career was at a precarious place. He was about to be a free agent. He wasn't getting minutes on a bad Utah team, and now he was on a new team with whom he had to prove himself in a short amount of time. He did just that, and a little over 2 years later, he's cashing in. So that was a guy who he had to fight for minutes, and he was fighting against the clock, right? And he did it. Now
good for him.
Yeah, good for him. He's making a big chunk of change. There's 534 for the day. Tennessee, though, has a keyword for us to try to put $1,000 in somebody's hand.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword credit at KFAN.com now for a shot at winning. That keyword is credit. Enter now at KFAN.com.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
A Commissioner Cup champion will be crowned tonight. It's the Lynx versus the Indiana Fever. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. Catch every play, every bucket, and every big moment right here on KFAN, or as always, on the Lynx station on the free iHeartRadio app.
Couple 13-14 pass, Common Man program. I'm Common. He's Tennessee. Lavelle Neal third, esteemed columnist. Fisher up after Westside will join us during the 2 o'clock hour. Text messages accepted at the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686. This one says, nominating Common for a preposterous statement. Is Caitlin Clark really that big of a deal? I don't know. Okay, preposterous statement. I think hasn't sort of like the glitter, hasn't sort of, the shiny new toy, hasn't it kind of rubbed off a little bit? Are they getting record numbers for maybe her games, are they like huge numbers, people watching? Where can you find the WNBA? Are all their games on regularly? Is it ESPN or? Is it easy to find as the NBA? Can you just find games?
Yeah, I think so.
You can? Okay.
I mean, some of the major games, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the ratings are definitely night and day different with her. Specifically, the game she's in.
Okay. Then,
even when she got hurt, the ratings dropped.
Yeah.
The game she wasn't playing.
Well, then nominate me for a PST, I guess. Here's one that says, I want every event on Prime. They do a better job than the dying networks, and everyone has Prime anyway. I'm more likely to watch a sporting event on Prime than ESPN, Fox, etc. For me to watch an event, if it's a matchup I want to see, I don't care what networks. I mean, there are some, we critique the NFL crews on television all the time, who we like, who we don't like. Some people like Buck and Aikman, other people don't. Some people like Collinsworth and Al Michaels. Some people like, who's the main, who's with Brady?
Oh, what's his name?
I can't think of his name. So I have preferences who I think I like. I mean, who's the guy I really like is the former Cowboy, not Aikman, but the other guy. The hell's his name now? Boy, I'm bad.
Romo?
No. The other guy didn't he play Greg Olson?
He didn't play for the Cowboys.
Did he play for the Cowboys?
You're thinking of Jason Witten. But yeah, Greg Olson is the correct answer, yes.
Greg Olson. See, I like Greg Olson. I think he does a great job. He's my favorite analyst. Doesn't make it about himself. Doesn't try to be too wacky.
Is it Burkhardt that's with Brady?
Yes, I think it's Burkhardt. And I like Burkhardt. I think he does a great job. Brady got better. But it's not because of the network they're on. So when he says and I don't see that big of a, and maybe I'm not paying as close enough attention. I don't see, other than the announcing crews, I don't see that much of a difference how NBC does a football game as how ABC does a football game, how CBS does a football game, and Fox does a football. Do you see major differences? I don't see them. The only thing I see different and what I like is on Sunday Night Football when they have the football players say, Tennessee, Ball So Hard University. They have the guys announce who they say their names. It's on tape, obviously, but they say their names and then the school they went to. And Deuce and I always listen because sometimes they'll use their elementary schools. Or I remember who was our Jared Allen used to always say like the Culinary Institute or something like that. Just something to have some fun with. Other guys use their elementary school or whatever the case may be. I don't see any big differences between the coverages the networks do. And if they are, I think they're subtle. Or do you see them? Because I don't.
It is pretty amazing how much a lot of those broadcasters get paid now because they aren't the reason I'm turning the channel to them.
Right.
Like, to your point, I tune in strictly for the matchup of the game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like Tony Romo anymore.
Right.
I was one of those guys, when he first came out, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's amazing.
Yeah.
He's calling plays. And now what he's turned into as a broadcaster is not for me, yet I won't not watch the game just because he's on it.
That's exactly
I still watch
right.
the game because I want to watch the game.
And I still to this day, I know this is very boomer-like, and I'm sorry, but it's just like, it's not that, it's really not anti-technology. It's just like, my boys have just signed me up, our family up for there's nothing I can't watch on TV. I told you before, I can watch the Politburo out of the Kremlin for crying out loud. I can watch anything, but isn't Prime an extra expense, or is that? I don't even understand how. All I know is
we have it just because we already have an Amazon Prime account.
I see. Okay.
For other stuff.
Okay. So is that
so I have it,
right?
But even one, it's more still alone just the principle of all of these leagues finding these extra streaming things. So it's turned into we have to, like you said, you have to now buy 30 different things, and you can't channel surf anymore. If you're watching the Amazon Prime game tonight, and now I want to go check out the Twins game on FanDuel, like that's a pain now, as opposed to I could just hit channel numbers before and hit the back button.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I would do. Like, as a matter of fact, during March Madness, you got TNT, TBS, True TV, and CBS 4 at the same time, right? And so what I would do is I would just go to the, up one channel each time, right? But then I would always make sure that when I would go to 4, I'd go back to the you see what I'm trying to say? So
the previous, The
previous, so I could watch all 4 and bounce back and forth. When what you're saying now is if you're on Prime, you can't do that.
Well, you can. It just takes a lot longer. And
okay.
It's, more tedious to do.
You have to jump through several hoops. This one says, Common, the problem with Amazon Prime, and for that matter, MLB Network, is once you get onto that streaming website, he's saying just what you're saying. You can't just hit the last button and bounce back and forth between channels. You have to log in and out of that particular website, which makes it a pain in the you-know-where to go back and forth between multiple programs. This one says the same thing. It says exactly that's why I don't like streaming. So that makes sense. But yeah, so I maybe if you watch because who's got Thursday night? Is that Amazon? That's Prime that's got the Thursday night game? I see no difference. And again, I'm not looking for it either. But I don't see any difference in like the camera work. You might have your graphics might look different, of course.
Sure.
But it's not like I go, well, I really like the way CBS covers a football game more so than Fox or vice versa. I don't see that. I mean, again, you go to the panel shows. I like the guys on the Fox panel more than I like the guys on the CBS panel. It seems like the CBS guys are trying to be like the Fox guys. They don't seem to have that chemistry with, Strahan and Jimmy, Jerry, Tony, Randy, Billy, Jeannie, Janny, Joey, Spooky, all those people like that. They do pretty good on Fox, and I think that's why I think didn't CBS isn't Sims gone, and so is Boomer gone too, or both those guys? I thought one or both maybe.
I always feel like they're kind of the same guy.
Yeah, kind of the same guy. They were old school, and when they try to be wacky, it just seemed forced. It wasn't like when Terry Bradshaw, of course, Terry seems to be losing it a little bit now, too. I'm not sure what that's all about.
My favorite's when there's like 2 minutes to go before halftime and they're previewing the halftime on one of those shows. And so they're just showing them like laughing and chuckling with each other and joke pushing each other around. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. Last one as we go to break. This one says Prime easily has the best cameras in picture. Do they? Maybe so. I don't notice it myself. We'll take a break. Don't forget Lavelle coming up just before 2 here at the Fan.
Fan.
The ultimate day of heavy metal is almost here.
Heavy metal.
Don't miss out on Summer of Loud 2025.
It's loud.
It's at Somerset Amphitheater on July 11th with performances by Parkway Drive.
Parkway Drive.
I Prevail.
I Prevail.
Beartooth. And more.
Tooth.
Get full show and ticket details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
One last text message regarding this Prime stuff. Someone says, Prime has Prime Vision, a unique way of viewing with on-screen stats and highlights. What the hell is that? What's Prime Vision? On-screen stats and highlights. That's all the gobbledygook I don't need. Just give me the game. I just want to see the game. Show me a replay, and then I move on with the rest of my life. So, again, it's to each his own. Here's one of those stories, Teneby, that I just roll my eyes, shrug my shoulders, and shake my head at. This is a CBS Sports
By the way, if Prime is as good as everyone, the emailers,
the text messengers,
or text messengers are saying, then the leagues will switch to Amazon Prime moving forward. So we'll see if that happens.
This one says, Jordan DeJohnny writes football for CBS Sports. Headline, Lions defensive back Brian Branch says, past adversity has team feeling invincible. Ready for breakthrough in 2025 season. I just love these guys that, and I guess that's the nature of sports. Teneby, you played team sports. So when you bond, I played team sports. It was so long ago. I kind of prefer the individual sports rather than the team sports because, as I've explained before, it's great to be part of something bigger than yourself, and I get all that. But I kind of like, well, it's up to me. If I play really well and win, I did it. And if you're a really good player on a bad team, it's sort of not really a lot of fun, I don't think. But anyways, here's what, now the Lions 2 years ago went to the NFC Championship game, and then last year they got bounced in the first round of the playoffs, but they had a 15-2 record. They had the top seed in the NFC, I believe. They had the 2 seed or the 1 seed. Lions. They were 15-2. They must have had the 1 seed, or did they?
Last year, when they had the 1 seed,
yeah,
they played the Vikings for the final game of the year.
That's right. So here's what Branch told the Detroit Free Press. I feel like we're better than last year. We're hungry, and I feel that's going to separate us. Our chemistry is on a whole nother level. We went through ups and downs. We fought together in tough games. We have been in a game where it depended on us to win, so it just makes everybody buy in. Once you have a group that has bought in and has gone through trials and tribulations, we feel invincible.
Huh?
And it's like, that's all good and happy for Brian Branch and his Motor City Kitties. Look, I'm a Lions fan. It's fun, but there's a lot of teams that have been through a lot of adversity and fought and battled and did this and did that, emphasis on the lat, and it just didn't work out for them. But if you're dependent upon that as being your, you fought together and you fought the adversity, you feel invincible. I'm still more worried about your game plan and who you got playing and what injuries you don't get and injuries to players and hopefully you stay healthy. I think those are more important than just feeling like you're invincible. But more power.
What fatal flaws of that?
What would that be?
Everything he's describing Minnesota sports has been for the last 30-some years.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that would...
So, at what point do we feel we've been more invisible than invincible?
Yeah. These numbers, we talked yesterday with John Bonus of Gleeman and the Geek fame, also with Twins Daily. Spent an hour with him, and we talked a bit about the Skubal character for the Tigers. And when you look back at that game, even though it was the Twins' opponent, I still enjoyed watching Skubal pitch. And I guess I didn't give that performance even as I gave it a glowing review, but I probably undersold it a little bit. Looking back at a NewYorkPost.com story, they said they were talking about Skubal. They say the reigning AL Cy Young winner mowed down just about every player in his path as he threw 7 shutout innings, allowing just 1 hit, 1 walk, and striking out 13 batters in the process. The lefty flamethrower set the tone immediately in the first inning when he struck out Twin star Byron Buxton on 5 pitches. After a flyout, Skubal then found himself in some trouble with a 3-0 count to Carlos Correa. He proceeded to throw 3 straight swing and miss strikes and was fired up with a yell, leaving the mound with passion that have you thinking was anything but the first inning. The lefty ace then struck out the next 6 batters he faced, making it 7 in a row. His first 3 innings consisted of 8 strikeouts on 9 batters faced. Skubal struck out Jeffers on his next time through the Twins order, giving him a punch out of every single Twin in the lineup. Tigers manager A.J. Hinch pulled Skubal after he painted a 100-mile-per-hour fastball his 93rd pitch of the night for strikeout number 13. Skubal became the first pitcher in Tigers history with at least 13 strikeouts in a game while allowing no more than 1 hit, joining Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander as the only Tigers to win 10 consecutive decisions in a season over the past 40 years. He also joined Randy Johnson, Sandy Koufax, and Chris Sale as the only left-handed pitchers to ever have multiple starts in a single season with at least 13 strikeouts, 0 runs, and 2 or fewer hits. I mean, it's remarkable, particularly when Major League Baseball, like I think most professional sports, try to increase offense. Because I think most fans, and I don't know if there's a percentage to put on it, but I think most fans like offense. You like action. You like doubles off the wall. You like home runs. You like hook and ladders. You like throwing the ball up and down the field. He's JJ hockey. I mean, there's enough action going back and forth. It doesn't really matter if you score or not, I guess. To me, like a 3-2 game is not much different than a 6-5, other than when it's 6-5, you're thinking the goalies didn't play very well. And then basketball.
In hockey, it's more about scoring chances and exciting plays as opposed to actual goals.
Right. Yes. Exactly. But if you recall, we've talked about this, and people that have followed baseball through the years. I mean, heck, after the 1968 season, when Denny McClain won 31 and Bob Gibson had a 1.12 ERA, they lowered the mound, and because it was. The mound, I don't know how much they lowered it by, but it was like almost like they were standing on top of a mountaintop and throwing down at the hitters, and pitching became so dominant that they said, well, we got to add some offense. And that was also part of the advent of the designated hitter. Because watching a pitcher hit was just feeble looking, right? They were just feeble at the plate. If you've ever watched a pitcher at the plate, and I guess the National League when did the National League finally come around to the DH? Was it 3 years ago, 5 years ago? Do you remember when it was? Because for the longest time, it was only the American League had it. So watching a pitcher, it was basically an automatic out. It really was. It was like, why even bother? I mean, yes, there were pitchers that you'd get a base hit occasionally, but it was like you were facing 8 players.
2022.
So they like offense. So to see a pitcher like Skubal do the things he did the other, and that's, I mean, this game, I guess it's a bit more the exception than the rule. I don't have each one of his starts in front of me, the numbers for them, but I can't think he could be that dominant every time he pitches, right? I mean, that's just, it's astonishing to strike out that. I mean, he had, did I say was it 8 strikeouts in a row or 7 in a row? I mean, that's just dominating. Your mama can't stop him. Your daddy, the police can't. Nobody can stop him. And having that kind of guy is, I mean, how much confidence does that give the team? You know, when you go out, just like, we only got to scratch a couple of runs. That's it. And they got guys that can hit the ball out of the park. It's a hell of a club. It's what it is. This text message says, reportedly Indiana Fever viewer numbers dropped 50% when Caitlin Clark is not playing. Currently, they're averaging around 1.9 million viewers per game, and that drops under 1 million when she hasn't played due to injuries. Well, I take everything back. 1.9, that's a lot of viewers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh. I guess she is a big deal.
She's a very big deal.
Oh.
And she's not playing tonight. She was listed as questionable. Now the Indiana has said she's not playing.
Maybe it's just because I'm not a part of the basketball community. I can't get that excited about it, right? Did I tell you I want to call a long birdie putt on a par 4 if a guy makes it? They should start calling it a low go 3, right? If you bomb one in from 30, 40 feet out, that's a low go 3. That's what I'd like to see. Royce Lewis returns tonight for the Twins. He spent the weekend with St. Paul Saints. Will
that be on Paramount or Peacock, or where can we watch that one?
I think that's I think the Twin on DirecTV they have 668, 668 1, 668 2, 668 3. The Twins are always on 668-3.
On Xfinity, they're on 1261.
1261.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for LaBelle to come in, because I got plenty to talk to him about. I'm going to read a text back to him that he sent me earlier. And I'm also going to revisit the question I asked him. And I've brought this up on a number of occasions here on the Grum with you, when when did Lewis make his major league debut? Can you IHOP that? Royce Lewis made his major league debut because he had not, I don't think he had been called up to the big club, or maybe he had just been called up. And I asked LaBelle, he was in the coroner's office, I said, it's one of those hypothetical situations, and it's one that you really can't answer.
May 6th, 2022.
May 6th of 2022. Because it could never happen. But I said, if I could guarantee you that the Twins would win one big game or one World Series again, but you'd have to trade Royce Lewis, would you? He said no.
Hasn't aged well.
No, because he thought Royce Lewis,
which I guess if he could stay healthy, you could still argue.
Yeah, because his argument was he thinks Lewis is so good, or at least he thought at the time, and maybe still believes that he could lift your team to maybe a couple of World Series appearances. When he's been healthy, well, even when he's been completely healthy, he hasn't been great because he's had those two really long slumps, those 0 for 30s.
Up until the last calendar year, he has been great when he's been healthy.
Right.
Elite.
And then he's had the two 0 for 30 streaks. And I think you brought this up yesterday, or someone did. If you'll remember when he did the old, I don't believe in no ghosts, right? He didn't believe in slumps. He said there's no such thing as a slump. Then he finally said, well, I guess there is such a thing as a slump because he's had two of them. I mean, and I guess when you've never had one, right?
Sure.
Because I guess probably never in his life he'd had one, right? I mean, when you're the number one prospect in all of baseball, that means you were really good in squirts, bantams, pee-wees, Howard Pulley, Pop Warner, Little League, travel.
Yeah, he wasn't going over 30 back then.
No, he never had a slump ever. He was always he's probably getting 2-3 hits every game, every time he played. And so when if he went like, I don't know, when he made that quote about he didn't believe in slumps, I don't think he was in the midst of the 0 for 30, because I think it was last year when he said that.
I think it was before he ever did slump.
Right. I think he'd had like a couple of games where he didn't get a hit or something. So I don't believe in slumps. And then next day he was back on a tear again. But it's unfortunate, really, if you're a Twins. It's unfortunate for him. And I put Buxton in the same category. This is the year that Buxton has been healthier than he has. He had a couple of personal days off as Bonus pointed out yesterday, and then they had the concussion where he was out like 10 games or 8 games, 7, whatever it was, because he had a collision with Correa. Other than that, he's been as healthy as a horse. And it's like, and he's been playing at a level. We talked about it yesterday, the numbers he leads the Twins in almost every significant offensive category. And if Lewis were still healthy, two guys, even one sometimes, can carry a team offensively. It usually takes more than one. You just need guys getting on base and letting them let these guys drive and runs. If they had those two guys, and if Correa would ever start playing, I mean, you look at those three. I guess I understand with certain extent. We'll ask LaBelle about it. You understand why the pull-out pocket protectors were getting giddy last couple of years when you're thinking Buxton, Correa, Lewis. Let's go. And then the pitching staff, you finally had two guys, actually 3, that were competent. I mean, we know Ryan and Lopez, they're big-time MLB pitchers. They generally have better, there's a better chance they'll have a quality start than being lifted for a reliever after the 3rd inning, right? You know you don't need an opener when you got Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez pitching for you, and you didn't with Ober either. Now Lopez out, Ober's terrible, Paddock's up and down, Simeon Woods Richardson is up and down between the bigs and the minors, and he's had a couple of good outings lately. But and then when you have that kind of offense, but those 3 guys can't seem to put it all together at the same time. If you had all 3 of those guys hitting like they're capable of, you'd have a dangerous team. But I just don't know if, and we'll see. I told you when I was at the game on Friday, his last at-bat, he grounded out. And I'm not saying he was walking to first base, but...
Light jog?
Yeah, it was a light jog. You know in the Olympics where you have that fast walk? He was almost fast walking because, and I don't blame him, you don't want to try to run out a meaningless... a ground ball and and again, I know for Saints fans and the players that are there all year, The games aren't meaningless. You'd like to win a AAA title if you can, but for a guy like him, he says, I'm not going to run this out. You can't blame him for not running one out on that. I can't anyway. And so, I don't know what to expect.
He might become the first player to have a pinch runner mid-running.
Well,
like he hits it and then the runner runs from home plate to first base, just immediately put him in the game.
If you could do that, he would be the guy that we would select to do that. And it's the idea, when he gets to the plate tonight for the first time, and if he hits a dribbler, I don't know if I can watch. I might have to turn away from the TV because I'm expecting him to pop a hammy. Or strain, what is it? Do you strain a hammy? Do you pop a hammy? What do you do to a hammy?
I think you do both.
Yeah. I can't watch when he runs to first base. As a matter of fact, maybe, but then you can't have him. I was going to say, if he hits a ground ball, just turn around and walk to the dugout. Just concede the out. But you can't do that, I guess.
The organization and the training staff does need to figure out, like, what's wrong with this guy that he keeps getting hurt running the bases? How can we fix it? I guess you can't fix that in a 4-week stretch in the middle of June and July. But in the offseason, like, they need to address this of what are we doing? What's going on here with your lower body?
Yeah.
And what can we do to fix this?
If it is, many people are surmising, even I think some, medical professionals, as we've talked about, tend to be think some of it is overtraining and some of it is just because you played the same sport over and over and over and over again. But yeah, it's maddening.
But even for Royce, like, he's individually, he needs to figure this out because he hasn't hit the big contract yet.
No.
And there was a time not long ago, a year and a half ago, where you thought this guy's going to be a massively, like, we were literally throwing him in conversations of like Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there was a time he was getting comparisons to Kirby Puckett. Those types of players get 9-figure contracts. And he was on, and now, unless he proves he can get over this stuff, like, he's hurting his chances financially.
No one would get. I wouldn't blame a team for not giving the money. If you can't count on a guy, you can't invest that kind of money in him. LaVelle Neal III, esteemed columnist, Fish Wrap Factory West Side, big ball guy. He'll join us next. We'll talk quite a bit of Twins, but we'll talk about a number of different topics when LaVelle joins us next here in the Common Man program with Tennessee here on the Fan.